Roll call. Everyone's here. Should we have voice roll call?
Joe Noreen.
Mark Dietz, present.
David Bartlett.
Jerry Porter.
All right. Approval of the minutes. I think we had two of them.
I so move that we approve the minutes from July 17th and November 20th.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded that we approve the minutes from July 17th and November 20th. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right. Okay. I hereby call this meeting of the Board of Adjustment to order. My name is David Bartlett and I serve as chair of the board. Before we begin, I would like to confirm that proper notice has been given for this meeting and the scheduled hearings as per the requirements. Each member of the board resides in a different town within Dunn County. I am a resident of the town of Sheridan. We went around and introduced ourselves. Hello, everyone. Thanks for being part of today's Dunn County Zoning Board of Adjustment proceedings. We're here to take care of some of the important zoning matters required by state law. Just to be clear, we don't have the power to change any zoning rules, and that's not our job. What we can do is deal with appeals when there are questions about these rules should be understood. We also consider variances, and when applicable, we look at whether certain uses can be allowed by special exception or conditional use. Think of us as a fair and neutral decision maker. Our main goal is to ensure that everyone gets a fair chance, especially when the zoning ordinances have an impact on your property. Our role is to use the rules and the law to make sense for each unique situation. If you're curious, feel free to observe our meetings and hearings. They're open to the public and we're keeping a recording of this meeting for the official record. In each hearing, we'll begin by going over what has been submitted, whether it's an application or appeal. Then we'll review any relevant reports such as site inspection and findings. The applicant will get a chance to explain their side and will consider input from the county planning staff if they have any insights to share. Following that, we'll have a question and answer session. We'll ask questions to the applicant, staff, and anyone else involved. We'll make sure to listen to various perspectives, including those in favor, those opposed, and those that are just here to provide information. Once we have all the facts, we'll conclude the hearing, deliberate in an open session, and make a decision. Our decisions based on the discussions and the evidence presented. We will be documented and sent out to the applicant involved in a timely manner. If you're interested in reviewing past meetings and decisions, you can find them at the Planning and Land Use Office. If you're not satisfied with our decisions tonight or today, you have the option to challenge it. There's a 30-day window from the time we finalize our decision to the time the matter to a higher court. Thanks for joining us, and let's get started. Today we have one hearing, huh? Today we have one hearing on our agenda. Let's proceed with the first hearing. May I invite the zoning administrator to present the staff report for the first hearing.
Good morning, members of Dunn County Board of Adjustment and all attendees. My name is Ann Wodarczyk, and I'm the Planner and Zoning Administrator and Co-Director of Dunn County Environmental Services. Today, we're meeting to review Milestone Materials non-metallic mining operation at Gates Quarry as mandated by Section 13.3.8.03 sub J of the County Zoning Ordinance. Which requires a review of the permit 2 years after approval, and that date was January 14th, 2022. Or, sorry, I think that was a mistyped 21. Anyway, notification and hearing. Before we proceed, I want to ensure that proper notification's been made. A Class 2 notice was published in the Dunn County News on November 29th and December 6th, 2023. Establishing this public hearing today, December 18th, 2023, at 10:30 a.m. in room 54 at the Dunn County Government Center. Notification was also sent to neighbors within 300 feet of the subject property, and the town of Lucas was formally requested for the recommendation on November 30th, 2023. The primary objective of this review is twofold. First, to assess the Milestone Materials adherence to the conditions stipulated in the original special exception permit, and second, to provide an opportunity for public input and address any concerns or complaints that may have been raised. The applicant, Milestone Materials, submitted documentation for the review. You can see this in your packets as Exhibit 2. For the purpose of this hearing, we'll focus on Dunn County's authority over 13.3.8.03 of Chapter 13 Comprehensive Zoning. This requires a special exception permit for non-metallic mining on sites 25 acres or larger. In our records, I was unable to find complaints for the subject property. I also reached out to the Land and Water Division, who also did not have any complaints. The original special exception permit was approved with specific conditions such as obtaining necessary permits, setback requirements, notice provisions, and adherence to non-metallic mining operations for construction aggregates only. These conditions are included in the meeting packet in both the staff report and as Exhibit 3. Some permit history. Milestone secured a reclamation permit in 2021, adhering to conditions outlined for proper land restoration. Stormwater regulation is under a general permit from the Wisconsin DNR, and air quality compliance is addressed through aggregate processing general permit. They're also complying with the blasting ordinance, or they're required to have permits from the town of Lucas for blasting and noise vibration mitigation. In summary, county staff confirmed that Milestone Materials adherence to the conditions of the permit. We've also not received complaints, so we recommend approval of the permit while retaining the original conditions. Milestone Materials representative will provide additional details during the upcoming hearing, allowing for a thorough review by the Board of Adjustment. Thank you for your attention, and we look forward to a productive public hearing.
State your, yeah, probably over there. State your name, address.
Hi, my name is Candy Anderson. I'm with Milestone Materials, and my address is P.O. Box 1246, Eau Claire 54702.
Okay, and I have to swear you in. Do you?
I do.
Solemnly swear to tell the truth
Nothing but the truth, so help you God.
and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you. All right, go ahead.
Thanks. I was the gal that did the original permit application in 2020 for the expansion, and also the gal that's in charge of compliance with the permit conditions. So what I thought I would do, if you would like that, is to go through the permit conditions and then explain to you how we've complied.
Sure.
if that would help.
That'd
Um,
be great.
Okay, I might not do them. So the 500-foot setback, we continue to maintain that from any residences. The annual notice of proposed crushing gets sent out usually around this time of year or in January. And the crusher moves in and out, so I state that in the letter. I just send it as a letter, and then I also send a letter to zoning. We also provide notice of blasting in an annual letter, but then residents on our call list, they also get a 24-hour notice. And then along with the Lucas clerk and the plan commission chair also gets notice. And I think we send notice to Ann as well. And that's a 24-hour notice. And the 60-foot distance from excavations to the groundwater, we've maintained our existing quarry floor, and we have monitoring wells around the perimeter of the site. So that gives us the groundwater elevation. And right now we are, I wrote it down, anywhere from 75 feet to 102 feet above the groundwater with our quarry floor. Crushing occurs anywhere from 2 to 4 times a year, and we usually, I mean, it depends on the projects in the area, how many times we'll come in. We blasted 7 times in 2022 and 10 times in 2023, and we set up 6 seismographs around the operation at different adjoining landowners' homes. And then we, per the ordinance, provide quarterly copies to zoning. And then we also supply copies to the town of Lucas. And there are a couple of neighbors that have requested a copy of their seismograph that we send out to. And then since we've been issued the permit, we've opened about 0.3 acres. And so we report that to the Land and Water Conservation in our annual NR 135 reporting. They're also in charge of our reclamation bond. So when I do that reporting every year, I have to make sure that we have enough financial assurance coverage because our bond requires $17,200 an acre for every open acre at the site. Now, next year, we're tentatively planning to open up another, I think, 3 acres. And so what I'll probably do is add that on when I do my reporting this year also, just so then we're covered in case we do open that up. Our hours of operation are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturdays, which we have still been doing. And let's see, we haven't abandoned any of the monitoring wells. We don't have any other wells on the site. And we have not sustained a truck traffic increase of 50%. So there hasn't been any notification to the highway department. And we only mine construction aggregates at the site.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Are there any questions for the board? Doesn't look like it. Thank you.
Candy, how long has this quarry been in production?
The original quarry was where the big quarry is now. That was opened and received a permit in 1997. And so with this permit issuance, it was really for everything south of that big quarry.
Okay.
Yeah. And I also, can I mention one more thing?
Yes.
We meet with the town of Lucas twice a year too, to give them information on our operations and what we're doing out there also.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? No, doesn't look like it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wants to speak for this? Come on up.
Good morning. My name's Pilar Gerasimo. I'm a resident of the town of Lucas, and I also serve on the town board for the town of Lucas. I also recently was appointed to the county board here. Candy and I have worked together pretty closely over the years to resolve small scale issues that have come up and just to kind of navigate and negotiate around the operation of the mine, this particular mine and others in our neighborhood. I wanted to speak to a couple of
I
things.
should swear you in before
Oh,
you.
sorry, sure.
So,
Oh,
she
address?
Gave the address. You gave
My
your
address, yeah, N 5797 163rd Street, Menominee, Wisconsin.
And do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
So I did want to clarify that while there have not been formal complaints registered with the county, nothing has ever risen to that level. There's certainly, I have received from local residents, um, I would call them smaller scale complaints or acknowledgements of impact of mines operating, not just the Gates Quarry, but the Hughes Quarry, Half Elder, and others. We have currently, is it 4 operating mines in the town of Lucas, Candy? Gates. There's one more, I feel like, too. We have a lot of non-metallic mines in our town. In addition, we have several that have been abandoned or minimally reclaimed. So one of the things I wanted to talk about is what I would call collective impact of multiple mines either operating or having been in our town. Our comprehensive plan calls for a fairly rural and residential, quiet, comfortable, nature-oriented space. Most of the residents really acknowledged the quietude, the wooded beauty, the rolling hills as being primary factors and what they wanted to maintain. The town of Lucas understands that we have a significant resource in our non-metallic, the gravel and previously quite a lot of frac sand. And one thing we discovered during the frac sand rush was how vulnerable our town was to having mining interests coming in to access those resources and the real potential for that having a negative impact on quality of life and other types of businesses operating there. That continues to be a matter of concern as we hear about, to some extent, noise from crushing and blasting, vibration, dust, traffic, the usual concerns. I will say overall, Milestone Materials has been a great neighbor. I voted to approve all of the things that have come before our board on the basis of that being a good relationship. However, I do think it's really important for this board to hear our town does have a concern about the collective impact of multiple mines operating in our town and the potential of them growing and expanding over time. When Candy brought the proposal before the board to expand the Gates Quarry, we did have some concern about that. It seems like it's growing from a mid-sized to a fairly large operation. It's like 90 some acres after the addition. Candy, remind me. 96, close to 100, which is pretty big. And so I guess I want to indicate that while the town supports this, the town also wants to go on record, and I as a resident want to go on record as saying we do have real concerns. If these things just get approved as a matter of, it's what we've always done, we feel that we're reaching a point where because the quality of life impacts are significant and because it starts to affect the nature of our town as having mining be a primary industry. I don't know exactly from a revenue perspective, but farmers are being increasingly tempted, I think, to cash out and sell their land or lease it to mines. And that really goes against the overall goal of our town plan. So density, collective impact, and carrying capacity are the primary things I wanted to register today. And also some concern, I think, as Article 12 has had some impact on towns' abilities to regulate mines and reclamation. We worked really, really hard with Candy and her colleagues at Milestone to put together an agreement around this expansion. And in general, I think we're all very happy with that. However, we received notes from Milestone after Article 12, sort of pointing out places that I think they wanted adjustments on the basis of that new regulation. And we haven't really talked deeply about it, but I am concerned that as controls get taken away from local governments, some of these previously accepted agreements, our ability to negotiate for ourselves may be limited. And it's important to us that we continue to protect our water, land, and the nature of our quiet rural and residential community. So again, I don't object to the proposal or to the variance or the special exception permit, but I would like for the county to continue to reach out proactively to the town when it comes to non-metallic mining operations in our neighborhood. Finally, we did have a request from a private company to establish an additional non-metallic mine right in the middle of a very residentially dense space. The town rejected that notion, but we felt that we were effectively a little threatened legal action by this company on the basis of our rejection of that. And that was kind of a wake-up call for us that because these resources are valuable and they're densely in our town, that we could become somewhat vulnerable to, predation on the basis of those resources. And we want to continue to have good relationships with our mining neighbors. So Candy and I work closely together. And I really appreciate you taking all the care that you do and you guys for showing up at our meetings and answering our questions. We just would like to see that continue. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, questions? Sorry. Mark?
You're in the town of Lucas.
That's right.
Part of the town of Lucas is in farmland preservation, isn't it?
Yeah, we have quite a bit of primary ag in our town, and that is one of the main zoning. We're zoned as, that's our primary use. Yeah.
Primary ag.
Yeah.
Formally, in order, you're talking about you had another entity come and request
Mhm.
an area. And maybe it's changed, but I think that the county requests the town's approval. And that weighs heavily on the Board of Adjustment's decision.
Yeah.
And I don't think, we haven't lost that yet. So I just wanted to clarify that the procedure was such that obviously the mining company wants the town approval first. If they threaten legal action, I think that the format, if you want to call it that, they would have a difficult time presently.
Yeah.
Moving forward.
I agree with you. And that is the way the process worked. They did come to the county, I think, initially, and then were told they needed to come to the town. They came to the town. We had a significant back and forth with them over the course of several months. And I did submit to the county as well the documentation that I had pulled together, the concerns with land class degradation and things, because there was a lot of argument that it's going to be better than before. We're going to just cut this hill off and you'll see it'll be flat and wonderful. So I think the process does work the way it's meant to. I just know that things change. And one of the things that we've seen is there's been a move, I think, on the part, understandably, to some extent, of mining companies to seek what they would call simpler processes for approval, including just getting, the state standards to be one thing, and then towns' ability to negotiate on the basis of their individual landscape or water concerns has been reduced. And I do think that the trend that we've seen is loss of local control over this kind of thing. So yeah, for the moment, I think things are working fine, and hopefully they'll continue to work that way. I talked a little bit with Bob Colson, who used to be the zoning administrator here and is now at Cedar Core. He reached out. I'd raised this concern about collective impact once before at a county meeting. And he thought that that was an interesting perspective that he didn't think necessarily was part of the county's considerations right now. And I really think in a town like ours, it just needs to be beyond the individual impact of a mine or a mine expansion, the impact that it has on the overall character and quality of life in the town when it's considered in context.
Yeah, and currently the township has control over that, the amount of mines that you have.
To some extent, I think that's true. And I will just continue to say, I hope that the process continues to operate the way that it should, but I do feel I wouldn't be standing here if I didn't have some reason for concern about that. And individual towns obviously are more or less aware sometimes of the impacts these things are going to have. I think I personally live, I'll speak now as a resident, not as a town board member, but our farm is 400 acres that's surrounded by pretty much all four of the operating mines. So we get vibration and noise constantly. And it's just disconcerting, you know, if it was just one of them, it probably wouldn't seem so frequent, but in a town our size, being literally surrounded by them, it's a difficult thing to articulate how disconcerting it is to have that grinding noise going on.
Yeah.
So when we talk about that as individual residents, I don't think residents tend to come to the town to complain about that stuff. They're largely used to it. But I think just because there have not been complaints in the past doesn't mean the impact isn't increasing as these mines expand or become more numerous.
Yeah, I don't think there's been complaints in the formal complaints, but I think we have had, we did have some people speak, concerning a different quarry, I believe. Um, for a water, issue.
Yeah.
But no, that's, it's just, that's the other thing I was wondering when you're talking about overall impact.
Mhm.
If the location of them is pretty close. Geographically pretty close together then
Yeah.
in the township.
Yeah, and I think when Candy came and we were talking about the proposal for this expansion, one of the points that she made is they need to continue as a mining operation to mine. That's what they do. And rather, if the alternative is opening up a completely new piece of property or expanding the one that's already open, the net impact seems less since it's already cleared and it's not,
Since it's already there.
yeah.
Yeah.
But at some point, that is also going to be mined out. And then the question is, what's the next spot? What's the next spot? What's the next spot? I don't think mining is going to stop. But at some point, I think, I guess I feel it would be responsible for our town, if our comprehensive plan doesn't have mining district in its plan, to be able to say, I think we've probably reached a kind of maximum density of either acreage or exposure to residents and other farms or loss of farmland to this time mining. And yes, we have the resource, but it may just be that we can't continue to perennially mine more land without losing what makes our town our town.
Yeah, but that's local, that's the township's prerogative.
It's present, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Anybody else want to speak? If not, is it okay to close the hearing then for everybody? Close the hearing then and start with the business part, the decision. Speaking to or against, any discussion? Anyone? Mark?
I think the testimony shows that Milestone Materials is working closely with the township for their approval and to be a good neighbor. And barring if there, I would make a motion that we approve the use.
Or second to that?
I second that motion to approve the conditional
Ready?
use.
Motion been made and seconded that we approve the special exception for Milestone Materials. Any discussion? Any more discussion? No? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. And the other two are dropped out?
Yeah, so I believe it was Dennis Kurth, the O'Galley application, they asked for postponement to the next hearing. So I think maybe you guys could just confirm that. And then the other one has withdrawn their application.
All right. And our next meeting will be July or January 15th. And we'll have, the Dennis Kirk one on then. Or Dennis Smith and. Kirk. Sweet. We can adjourn? Any other business before we adjourn? And is January 15th okay?
It is MLK.
I was gonna check that. Are you sure? So
MLK
I'm,
Day is Monday, the
don't
15th.
believe the county recognizes that as a holiday. So we didn't last year either. That's why we had a hearing scheduled that day too. It is in like taking time off for staff. They might recognize it as a holiday, but we don't get the day off of work. So we'll be here. We could certainly schedule that to a different time
Works for me.
for anybody if they like.
Yeah, I think if the county's working, there's no problem no reason to reschedule it. It's okay for everybody? Okay,
Yes.
we'll stick with that then and I'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you. Thank you all for coming.